He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. What did he say when asked? He said there were good people, some good people on both sides. They asked what he thought. He said, I thought there were very fine people on both sides. He said he thought there were some fine people on both sides.
But even before Biden launched his campaign, the media was already greasing the runway.
In spirit, he's with what he calls the fine people among the ranks of the Nazis.
Very fine people on both sides during Charlottesville.
Him saying there's some fine people among neo-Nazis.
The President of the United States said there were some very fine people.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
You're being lied to. This isn't even about supporting Trump. This is merely just calling out the lies that are bluntly told in front of our faces. I urge you all to think for yourself and look up the news for yourself. I don't care if you vote for Trump or Kamala, as long as you know why you are voting for them. In this video, we're going to be debunking the most common lies that are told about Donald Trump, because instead of the media telling you the lies that Donald Trump is making, the media is making the lies about Donald Trump.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
In that same clip, but like if I let it keep playing.
But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats.
He called it out for what it is. He said there were very bad people on the right that need to be condemned. The white nationalists and the claims of all them people, he said that's stupid, that needs to be condemned. And he also said the Antifa and the people dressed in all black, they need to be condemned too. There were fine people on the right side that just wanted to maintain our nation's history and have these statues, and it's whatever. There were fine people on the left who said, I want the statue down, it's hurtful to my ancestors. Regardless, there were fine people on both sides, but it's clear with the full context. Trump never said that the Klansmen and the white nationalists were very fine people. He said they should be condemned. That's the actual truth.
After 7 long years, the Democrats' favorite fact checker has finally admitted what real journalists have known all along. Trump never called neo-Nazis very fine people. Snopes saying, in a news conference after the rally protesting the planned removal of a Confederate statue, Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, referring to the protesters and the counter-protesters. He said in the same statement he wasn't talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists, who he said should be condemned totally. Why wait 7 years to admit this was a hoax? Why wait until a week before the Biden-Trump face-off? And does it even matter? Because the Biden campaign doesn't care about fact checks. Their whole campaign's based on hoaxes. They can't come up with a new strategy this late. Biden's going to spend the entire debate hitting Trump with hoax after hoax after hoax and baiting him into wasting all of his rebuttal time talking about dictatorships in Charlottesville and Jan 6th instead of crime, inflation, and the border. They're telegraphing what they're going to do.
He wants to be a dictator on day one. He's also made it very clear, Alex, that if he doesn't win this election, there will be a bloodbath. And I know some of his aides have tried to say that we're overstating that. No, he said that in his own words. So, sure, it's an attack line. You're going to hear us making the contrast point more and more, but it's also a statement of fact.
I wanted to write this article about how I used to kind of despise Trump and how I ended up just seeing him for who he is, being just a flawed individual. And part of that had to do with the good people on both sides lie that was perpetuated by the media. For many years, I was a Democrat. I was someone who would watch the mainstream news and felt like I was being informed. But then I became curious about Donald Trump as I was talking to more and more people about him. And that's when I came across the good people on both sides accusation as being an actual lie or misrepresentation of what he stated. And when I watched in full context where he was basically putting down the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists who showed up with tiki torches, I realized that the media purposefully misframed what he was stating. And he was actually relatively clear as far as who he was talking about was good. The people who were protesting for and against the statue being up of Robert E. Lee. And he was even more specific as far as the people who weren't violent, who were protesting on both sides of the matter. So I realized at that moment, you know, if the media can lie to me about this for years upon years, claiming that he said something that he clearly didn't say, and if you just extended that footage about 30 seconds or so, you would see it, then what else are they lying to me about? And that's what led me to become more independent-minded, eventually leaving the Democratic Party to become an independent and just asking questions about the media that we consume and bipartisan curiosity. Am I making determinations politically because of how I feel, or is it because of what is true? By how I feel, who is making me feel this way? Is someone propagandizing me, trying to manipulate my emotions into feeling a particular way about someone, regardless if it's someone on the left or right? I became very conscious of my emotions and very conscious of any sort of manipulation attempt to get me to sway in one direction or another for political gain. I also considered, when it comes to Donald Trump, if he is evil, then why lie about him? Because someone who's truly evil, you just tell the truth about them. The truth says everything. So is he really that evil? Is he someone that you can disagree with? I have disagreements about him. Is he someone that you have to love? You don't have to love him in order to vote for him. Is he someone that's flawed? Absolutely, he is flawed. But is he evil? Is he the next Hitler? Is he someone who's going to bring an end to democracy as we know it? That's categorically false. I see no evidence for it. And the 4 years that he was in office, I see no evidence for it. So I am very much so a pragmatic voter, someone who is open-minded but pragmatic. And I see no reason why someone shouldn't consider Donald Trump.
Let's talk about team for a moment, because it's not really Trump versus Harris. It's the Trump team versus the Harris team, right? So what have we seen? So Trump's picked J.D. Vance as his vice president. I'm afraid of mispronouncing him.
No, it's just...
Kamala's picked, has picked Walz. Walz is a self-described knucklehead, right? I can't imagine a world in which this guy is president of the United States. And you have to look at the vice president as a potential president of the United States. So that's, right. If I line them up, you know, you've got a guy who grew up in a very, very challenged environment, addiction, family, rural America, makes his way to Yale, armed forces. Now he's, you know, venture capitalist, senator, extremely articulate, obviously highly intelligent. So you compare and contrast. You have Elon Musk, who's probably the, you know, one of the most consequential, certainly consequential business leaders 100%. In the world. It's proven he can take on 12 things at the same time and change the world. Okay, you know, who's going to take? He's put himself out here in this election. And first, the only one talking about government efficiency, right? And Trump's all in. By the way, RFK, okay? RFK is a highly intelligent, capable person, and he's focused on a couple of issues that mean a lot to me. Number one, you know, the food industrial complex, what's happened to the health of Americans over the last couple of decades. He's going to focus on that. I think that is a critically important issue. I think examining the 73-shot regime that we give our kids and it's worth doing.
You've spent your whole career talking about truth, honestly.
Yes.
You go out there publicly talking about companies that you think are lying.
Sure.
And I just want to know what you think when you see, for example, former President Trump publicly say on the record that he forced Deere to not move to Mexico. And then the company has to come out with a statement that says that that's false, fundamentally false. He puts on Twitter or on social, on his social media platform that Jamie Dimon is endorsing him. And then J.P. Morgan has to come out publicly and say that's not true.
Actually, that's not what happened. What happened was Jamie said some positive things about Trump. Someone posted on Twitter that Jamie's endorsing him, and Trump, in effect,
Let me ask you this, though. But as somebody who cares about truth, use the deer example, because that's as black and white as they come.
So look,
what do you think of that?
I think there are probably many examples of Trump convincing and or threatening a company that if they open up a factory in Mexico, that he's going to, tariff their goods or whatever, and maybe confuse the company. Okay, but he certainly has used that kind of technique. But let me hold on.
Go ahead.
I want to make my own arguments here.
You can.
You get to do it all day. I get to do it now.
There's lies on both sides. It's like unbelievable.
In her Twitter account,
and lie from
Vice President Harris put stuff out about Trump that are absolutely completely false. Like, so for example, he's going to sign a federal abortion ban. Okay, Trump's not going to sign a federal abortion ban. He's in bold letters, capital letters. He said it publicly. He's posted it. Otherwise, I can give you multiple examples. Just take a look at her Twitter feed, her X feed. It's a series of lies about President Trump. So, she's not some unfortunate. Again, I look forward to a world, maybe it's 4 years from now, and we have two candidates, and it's November 5th again, and none of them have lied. None of them have personal issues. They're like the world's most incredible candidates, and it's so hard to decide because they're amazing. Human beings are flawed. Donald Trump is flawed. Kamala Harris is flawed.
You think they lie and it's the same. What about like eating pets? No, honestly, I know because
we only got a couple minutes.
Okay, let me focus. Let's talk about the issue. The issue is when you have totally open borders, and you're flying 20,000 immigrants from one culture into a city of 40,000 people, and there isn't sufficient infrastructure, and they don't have driver's licenses, and they have different habits. And by the way, and maybe it wasn't cats and dogs, but they were trapping geese in the pond or whatever, whatever the ultimate truth is. There's a symbolic element there.
Spewing, spewing, bluntly, bluntly, debunk, debunk, condemn, condemn, perpetuate, perpetuate, telegraph, telegraph, rebuttal, rebuttal, dictatorships, dictatorships, manipulate, manipulate, despise, despise, pragmatic, pragmatic.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.